I just inlaid maple strip on the back of this neck. It's a dulcimer guitar, and as you can see, the neck is long and narrow. The four strings of a dulcimer don't exert as much stress on as a guitar does on the neck, but it was starting to pull the neck into a slight arch, which was beginning to lift the strings a little high off the fretboard. Sanding the saddle down would bring them down a bit, but with that small neck, it really needed some reinforcement anyway, and I was able to get it back in the shop to work on. I'm going to stiffen up the neck with a rod of carbon fiber. Here you can see a test that I did. The jig that I made for this, which I obsessively measured and measured and remeasured. And here we go, we put it into the vise. I could have taken the fretboard off and routed a channel, put the carbon fiber rod in, and put the fretboard back on, but I decided to go in from the back. The actual router bit cut a 1/8 inch slot in the neck, but the bit had to be dropped down through a piece of 3/8 inch plywood. So the actual slot in the jig was routed out to a 1/4 inch so that I could drop the 1/4 inch shaft of the router bit down low enough to get into the neck. The slot needs to be 7/16 of an inch deep, and I lower the bit down a little bit at a time, about a 1/16 or 3/32 at a time. It's a small diameter bit, and I don't want it to break. I only have one, and I don't want to stop work to go buy another one. I was having some problems moving the router at first until I figured out that the vise was squeezing the lower rails on the jig, causing it to bind on the router base. I was able to slightly open the jaws of the vise without the jig falling out, and that fixed everything. It was a relief to get that part of the job done. It looks good, slot nice and straight, but it still needs to be opened up just a little bit as the carbon fiber rod was fitting in there just a little too tight. But a piece of sandpaper stuck onto a thin piece of wood, and it didn't take very long at all to clean it right up. Next came putting the carbon fiber rod in and crafting a piece of maple to go in. And that needs to be done very carefully, rounding the ends. Clamped everything down real tight, and then came in the next day, and everything looked pretty good. Just needed to plane it down and sand it down. With the neck straightened out a bit, I could then go to the saddle and sand it down a bit and bring the strings down to just about the right height. But now there was a small buzz on the lowest string that was coming from the bridge saddle. So maybe that was caused by a slight change in the string angle. The string buzz was very stubborn, and I accidentally widened the groove for the string a little bit, so I made some bone sanding dust, and then with thin super glue and accelerator filled the groove and started over. And it didn't take very long before I finally got the buzz out. In case you're not familiar with a dulcimer, and you may be wondering about the oddly spaced frets, this is diatonic fret spacing, and long story short, it just means that you can play it without hitting any wrong notes, for the most part. It can be played like a drone instrument, which makes it hang right in there with bagpipes or hurdy-gurdies, sort of. Anyway, that's the short answer. And since I don't really know how to play a dulcimer, that's what I'm doing here, not really playing the dulcimer. I'm just picking out some notes and droning on them. It's kind of fun. I may have to make one for myself next time. Anyway, as usual, thanks for following me around the shop, and now it's time to go make something.